in Ethiopia and Amharic, we get it, the Shavuot, the the Sers Merer. The Sers Merer, that's the Shavuot when we celebrate in Ethiopia as a child in the village, the rabbi telling the story, giving the Torah, reading the Torah, and the creation of Bet HaMikdash. If we get there in Israel, it's amazing, the Shavuot, also in Israel, Hamomori. But I want to share with you before I'm going to tell you the story about the hero, the activist about Bet Israel. Let me share screen share 1 second, and we take you there. All right, this is not. Give me 1 second. I am really bad with Zoom, but I try to do that my best. Okay. Um, there you go. And everyone can see the Ethiopia and the African map. So I just want a little bit give you a little introduction. Of course, I came from Ethiopia. Before that, before we moved to Ethiopia, before us, people from Morocco they came, from Tunisia, Egypt. Um, so I really want to talk about the hero and how we really survived the journey, and then why we decided to go uh, from Ethiopia to Sudan in the 70s, before we moved to Ethiopia in the 50s, a lot of activists they moved to Israel as a student to run away from the dictator Mengistu Haile. I grew up in the village in North Gondar, which is the second city in Ethiopia, in the north. I lived in a village. My parents, they were farmer. My mom, of course, she does beside raising kids, she has other job, raise us as a Jewish kids. Also, she does a lot of Jewish things, syncretism. She uses syncretism as a Moel. She took the role model for Zipporah, the wife of Moses. She know in the Bible, Zipporah, she syncretism Gershon. So she was when the rabbis they say you can't do that. No, listen, Zipporah did it. I can do it. So my mom, she really educated us and keep the Judaism. We survived 2,500 years, generation. Uh, the life in Ethiopia is beautiful. I came from a beautiful place. If you guys one day to visit Ethiopia, it's amazing. I'm always my life is in the field as we raise animals, so I have to be take care of them. Uh, in Ethiopia, also one known village is called Ambover. Ambover is the central of Ethiopian Jewish Beit Israel. From there, a lot of messages went out to the other village. The chief rabbi lived in Ambover. Um, village, we live in different villages, and it's maybe 200, 100 miles, 20 miles, 25 miles each village. Uh, in the village Ambover, also the famous Sigd. Sigd, I don't want to go to it, but there's a national holiday in Israel. We celebrate an generation, which is worship to unify with God. We fast and then we pray to return to Jerusalem. This is like the dream generation 2005. We celebrate today is become part of a national holiday. All of you need to celebrate this sect. Just look at it later because I just want to focus about the heroes. So in Ethiopia and Ambova, they open up school, the Hebrew school, which is educating all Ethiopians, Jewish, non-Jewish also, they went to that school to learn math and science and Hebrew, and people want to know the Hebrew, they teach Hebrew there. So all those teachers in this picture, they went to in the 1950 in Israel to study and back to Ethiopia to educate a part of the Haile Selassie also were part of it. So that was a famous school in Ethiopia and Bover. All the leaders came from today, all the politicians in Israel, they came from this school as a student today, like Shlomo Mola, Diso Mesele. I'm going to talk about Yona Bogala, which is the leader. Here's the picture in the 50, Kfar Batia. Uh, couple students who came to Israel in 1950. This is the picture as a group. Uh, as a student, this is taken before they arrived and studied in Israel. So the story is because of Ethiopian Aliyah being told, Operation Moses, Operation Salmon, you know, the famous airlift, how Israel came and airlift and the Jewish agency, but it's never been told through our voice, through the rabbis who went in jail and torture, or the student who being caught and being tortured because he's smart and they have to kill him. So because the dictator Mengistu Haile Mariam, he decided to kill everybody. So all those leaders, if they weren't around, we will be in survive. They decide to tell us to how to get the way out because Ethiopia was locked down, was dictator country when the communists came. So Yona Bogale, which is also, I want you guys later to Google who is Yona Bogale. He's like our Herzl. I know I learned about Benjamin Zev Herzl, how he decide the guy who was born in Budapest and he was scientist and teacher and book writer, and also Yona Bogala, he was our Herzl to the West to explain about Beta Israel, how they become danger and they can be wiped out. He was really giving communicating with the Israeli government, not just with the Israeli government, to the whole world and the Jewish community in United States, Canada, sending all the students to be speakers to convince the whole world how we are in danger. And also, when Israel say we're not Jewish, not just Israel, United States Jewish community, even they ask, are we really Jewish? They black. So they were 24 hours walking, 24 hours, 7 years to explain to the West how we are Jewish and we are in danger by Mengistu Haile Mariam. This is the dictator Mengistu Haile Mariam. He just not killed Ethiopian Jews. He killed his own people. They call it the Red Terror. He was sending soldier village to village. There was a civil war 7 years it took, killing every smart, every educated, every rabbis, you name it. He just destroyed a lot of terror in Ethiopia. The Red Terror, it was supported by the Soviet Union, which is Russia back then, and also Cuba was involved, giving a lot of support, arm and open to become part of like communist. So the back then and then that time also my parents decided because the rabbi said we have to save our life. So the rabbis and all the activists, I'm going to talk about them, they find out the way out when they trying to go out, and also they cut and they got torture, but they never give up, and they find out the way out to go to Sudan when a lot of killing massacres would happen. So they made it in 70s in Israel as a student, part of the Ethiopian group. When they arrive in Israel, they start protesting in the street of Jerusalem. The prime minister, when Menachem Begin, when he was prime minister, Menachem Begin met those students, and also I would love to be part of it and helping Ethiopian Jews. When Menachem Begin say yes, now they have to fight with the Rabbanut, which is the Orthodox office, because they said they're not Jewish. We're not sure they're Jewish. We can't bring them here. Also, they have to fight with the Rabbanut. And when they fight in that time, also they went to the army in the 70 to be, in the Israeli army because they know that this is our home. So they being even if they criticizing the family in the back in Ethiopia, but they also part of Israeli. Part of some of them, Rachamim Eleazar here, he became radio host in Ethiopia, in Israel in the 70s, 60. So he used the radio as an open to communicate with others all over Israel to come out in Amharic, and he opened up that radio. He was one of the activists behind this. Uh, he even later on he made George W. Bush the father to with the United Jewish community to be part of it, and they make it to happen to be United States have to be involved inside Sudan with Mossad, CIA, to help to bring Ethiopian Jews. Um, Esther, she's the female. Also, she came in the 70s. Also, she fight and then gone to the newspaper. Um, the two guys here, they're very central and unknown today that we're talking about them in Israel. Farid Aklum, Azizu Farid Aklum, he's the first one. He discovered their way out. And he's the first one communicate with Mossad. He worked with Mossad to make sure when we arrive in Sudan and also help with Mossad from refugee camp to smuggle to us to inside Mossad. Baruch Tagenye, working with the United States and Canada, bringing from Sudan through United States to Canada. So they are very the central of one of the biggest heroes in the Ethiopian Jewish. Um, of course, in the group when they in Israel in the 70s and in the hotel, that's a group picture. So what they do, the activists in Israel, also they bring non-Ethiopian student to the street to convince, to make sure, listen, this is not about if they're not Jewish, and they need to be saved. And then they went out also to protest together. So that was part of it. The group it became more growing, and when the police, the 50, you can see the police trying to convince them not to do protest. When trying to Jewish agency, they tell them not to do to protest because you danger your family in Ethiopia. If they know you're protesting, they are Jewish, they will being killed. The Mossad. Uh, so I really find this story after I made the first movie, 400 Miles to Freedom, because that story is talking about my personal story journey, the dangerous journey with my parents I went to. And then later on, I started hearing about them. So that's why it convinced me to make about the activism who telling the story first time and in their own voice how they really sacrificed and how they really went to the jail back and forth and to convince the whole world and the Israeli government to take action. But um, they never say in the story it's not about because also they went out a lot of trauma. Uh, and so we feel the young Ethiopian Israeli, we presented today as a weakness being saved, not being like in ourselves also we did together to make ourselves to come to Sudan. We did it with our own, but Israel his job uh, do to save Jewish who are dangerous after uh, being killed. So that was part of the this movie being it has to be told. I want to show you a little bit now the trailer, a little bit about the film, and then I will open up for Q&A. Hold on a second. This is the trailer from the hero film, which is coming up soon.
Ethiopia, 1974. Haile Selassie's feudal regime collapses. The military takes over.
መንግስቱ ኃይለ ማርያም אחרי שתפס את השלטון, אני חושב הוא רצה לשנות הכל מאפס, להתחיל מהכל מאפס. כל מי שידע קרוא וכתוב, לחסל אותו לגמרי.
שלחו אותי לבית סוהר הקדוש שנקרא באתה בגונדר. שברו את הנגד שלי. כל הסימנים האלה נמצא עליו שם. התחלתי ללכת ככה. אפשר להרגיש פה ביד, מה שהיה לי.
היה מחלות, היו מחלות. אנשים מתים יום. אי אפשר לרפות אותם, אין תרופות. ואוכל גם, אם אתה רוצה לאכול, אוכל לא משהו אוכל. זה מוזהם גם האוכל. מאוד היה קשה להיות שם. Women, children, tried to reach to Jerusalem, and they didn't get it. 600 children.
לאבא שלי קוראים פרדה, יזזו אקלו. היו לו כל כך הרבה כובעים, מצד אחד היה את הכובע של איש חינוך. הכובע השני שלו היה אקטיביסט. כובע נוסף, סוג של ג'יימס בונד.
מאז שנחתנו לארץ, צירפנו כל אחד שהיה מגיע לפעילות. העניין היה בעצם, אנחנו רוצים את המשפחה שלנו פה.
הם דורשים וקוראים רק להצלת בני משפחותיהם.
אנשים מתו ברעב, אנשים מתים במחלות. אני רוצה כל עוד שאני יכול להציל אנשים. אני לקחתי את עצמי כמשימה, כפעיל של לעשות אותו. היו שם אנשים באמת חפות נפשם, כמו ברדקנה, כמו זימנה, כמו מאוד פעילים אחרים שהיו בשטח. גם אני, גם החברים שלי, אנחנו רצינו לקבל את הזכות הזאת להיות חלק מהמסורת. רצינו את יהודי אתיופיה.
את העלייה הזאת, עשו את מספר אנשים, כל מיני אנשים שהם לא מדברים בכלל.
Okay.
In 1,000 feet, turn left onto Connell Avenue.
I'm just trying to make that. How do you do not screen share? Well, give me a second. I'm trying to do not screen share. Oh God. Well, I guess I stay in this map. Okay.
Are you trying to take your screen share off, Avishai?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that, yeah. Well, it is not working.
There you go.
All right, thank you. Are we good? All right, good. Thank God. All right. That's the story part of the Heroes, the trailer. This movie is work in progress. I started filming 4 years ago. My God, time flying fast. But I recommended before we open up for Q&A, if you guys want to know about really what's going on behind the scene, who are the people, I recommend a lot of books to read, especially this one, Dream Behind Bars. It's really good book written by Rahamim Eleazar, which is I interview him. I recommend also And the Wing of Angels. This is really good book. Okay. Micha Friedman. And I love this book, Rescuing Ethiopian Jews by Gramer Berger. This is a really good one. And this is also best book I really learned about that, Black Jews and Jews and Other Heroes. Best one. That will give you all the pictures who are really, it's not, I'm focusing about the Ethiopian heroes because their voice never been told. Gramer and all that, because they wrote a lot of books. Gramer is one of the best person I know about him. He the head of the American organization, the first founder. He's by himself went in Ethiopia in the 50. He studied so many, meeting Yona Bogal, all those activists who I'm talking about in the film. So you guys, this is good books also to give you what really, what the story being not told and not being told. I by myself in the first film what I made, I've been saved from slave trade from my own community who uh, he was working undercover. He found me and united me with my parents. If he wasn't in this on the ground, I couldn't be saved. Share to Giatana, which is I know in the film he was featured. So it's also part of the what's going on today in Israel, is Ethiopian Israeli. I know when you're in America, I lived here 15, almost 15 years already. Black Lives Matter. With the police clashing with the police protests in Israel, part of it, I think the whole Israeli society, they don't see the Ethiopian Jewish community was strong before we arrived. Is always they see us where we being rescued or being saved. Say thank you is a part of things missing. This part of heroism. It's to inspire also other young Ethiopian who's born and raised in Israel to make them being proud, part of that, to understand what community they came from. That will inspire them this film. And part of also today what we face in immigration around the world. Each community who fight in their own to go search for better place to be saved. That will inspire also what we're facing today. The people they can learn about that. The small community, how really they did it together, and they inspire the West to be part of it. And you know, back then, not just the state of Israel said we're not Jewish. The whole world didn't believe it's black Jews. Um, and I know in myself by doing the first film, uh, the, the diversity today is the most powerful in our history, and I love that, and I'm glad we're doing it, and we have to continue to do that. And I will open up for Q&A if anyone has any questions.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi. Hi, I'm Lisa. Nice to meet you.
hi, Lisa.
Hi. I have a question. The practices of when people are in Jewish people in Ethiopia, are they different than the practices when they come to Israel? The customs, the Jewish customs and practices.
Just the language, the 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 praise are different in it. The each Jewish who came in different country, they are a little bit the language is different. Even if the Moroccan Jews came to Israel, they pray in Arabic, and that's Morocco, Ethiopia, but the costume is different. In the Kesim, the rabbis, we call in Amharic the costume still today is beautiful costume. If you go to Israel when you visit in Sig time, you can see the costume. The chanting is different. It has that's the best about it. In Israel, when I go different synagogue, the Yemeni synagogue, the chanting is in Yemen accent is so beautiful. And if you go to Ashkenazi, the costume is in and a little Yiddish, and it has beautiful. And this is really good in Israel when you go. Try to visit different community. Ask really. That's the part of in Israel when you visit. Is any Ethiopian synagogue ground in this town? When you go there, it makes you more different. The journey was more excited. Um,
Mm,
that yeah, the costume is very different, but the biblical name is the same.
thank you.
Sure. Haksamia, Lisa.
Avishai.
Yes.
Hi. Yeah. I visited Ethiopia with the North American Conference on Ethiopian Jews, and I visited the compound they had in Gondar back in 2004. But also, as a younger guy back in the 1970s, I was very involved with the American Association for Ethiopian Jews with Graham Berger. And it was a struggle. I would go to Soviet Jewry rallies and Israel independence with a little pushka, Save Ethiopian Jews. They looked at me like I was out of my mind, crazy. No one cared. Nobody cared. So when I visited Israel many times, to see so many Ethiopian Jews is very heartening. They were saved,
Wow.
Rabbi Shalom, what's his name? Sharon Shalom.
Of course. The best one. I wish every Senegal to bring him to talk. He's make you laugh so much. Beautiful. He speak Yiddish even.
I know he married an Ashkenaz. Do you know Ricky here in New York?
Yes, I do.
Of course, we know the same.
Yes. I'm glad to hear from you. You are the fighter, so you know all those people who are talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you know what I always say when I talk about Ethiopian Jews? The least interesting thing about them is their skin. There's so many interesting things about the Ethiopian Jews, the old Ethiopian Jewish kingdom, and so the Kesach,
the Kesach.
So many things unique about them. Their color of their skin is the least interesting.
Yes, they're very strongly, very interesting. You know what? If you brought that, where Ethiopia is the only country never colonized by West, but they don't understand behind the story. Ethiopian Jews were part of it. They beat up the Italians. It was, I think, 440 leaders, Ethiopian Jews, or tortures by Italians.
Right.
Because one of the generals who really who fight was beat Israel, and then they ordered in the 1940 during the World War II, Rome ordered to assassinate to Ethiopian Jewish community to go back and fight, and they were like send a message. I was like in shock to hear that how the Ethiopian Jewish really protect the Ethiopian village not to be wiped by Italians. So Ethiopian Jews really fight together with Ethiopia to help Ethiopia to be part of it. They fight generation. If you go back as a kingdoms, and like sometimes people they cannot believe it.
Yep. Jewish kingdom.
Yes.
I once read that Ethiopian Jews during the Holocaust tried to raise money for the Jews in Europe to help them.
Yep.
Amazing, right? Amazing.
That's amazing. I mean, by doing the research, they send letter to Haile Selassie, the Ethiopian Jewish community. We want save our community, bring them to our village. They send letters. I mean, it's unheard of. It's the more you do research, the more you.
It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you for to hear that from you. I'm happy to see that.
Well, my family's from North Africa, so we're connected. Morocco.
Okay, that makes sense. The voice come. That's the true story. Now you know video exactly what's going on. Yeah.
Besides, what's your direct message just for some more questions that were what? Yeah.
Lynn, yes.
Hi, I'm Avishai. It's great to see you.
Thank you for being a part of this.
Hebrew or English? First of all, for tonight we'll do English. I'm so proud of you. I love the trailer. I'm so excited. My question is going to be on when will we see the film? The Toronto Jewish Film Festival that I met you at is going to be soon, and we want to see you come back to Toronto and with your new movie. We love 500 Miles to Freedom. Now we want to see Heroes because you are a hero, and Baruch Tegene and Rachamim Elazar. I haven't seen him for years, and Yona Bagali, Zacharias Yona. I mean, these are true heroes of our time. So we want to see them on the screen very soon. When do you expect to be in the cinema?
You know,
and when will we be back in the cinema?
I wish sooner, but I want to say thank you for you being part of it. You know, you host a lot of them in Toronto as a volunteer. You know, a lot of a lot of people like you, probably in here and out here. I want to tell
They
you,
all
you get
stayed with me.
amazing job. I wish soon because things is getting more difficult being
Yeah.
independent, but uh, I still fighting to get complete funds.
I was going to ask you, what's still, how
It's
much do you need still?
it is a
Are you allowed to
still
say?
is a still not a lot what I'm asking, but it's something I'm seeing the light in the end of tunnel. I hope so. It's not good waiting too much because each year other heroes pass away. Just last week, Gadala Waraya, he passed away. One of the guy, he's the head of who brought the Ethiopian Jewish who fight for Ethiopian community. He passed away. I didn't interview him. He tortured twice. He was the teacher. Who is the teacher to all Ethiopian politician in Israel? So he passed away. So each year is good. And we lost also 2 years ago. Um, I forget his name in New York. Uh, anyway, it's a lot of people they passing away because they age. But I would sooner, hopefully,
Okay.
your support from your support and all other support that will come out.
Let's get in touch with each other again. I want to tell
Oh.
somebody asked the question. What's the name of the books? I put all the books and the authors in the chat box, so you could copy and paste
Thank you for doing
the
that.
list of books you have. Plus, there's the book by, I'll add it to Baruch Chigene's book.
Yes.
My name is Baruch, the one I gave you.
Yes, I've heard. Yes, I have a couple there. Yes, right. That one is the best one too.
Yeah. But I want to want to say one thing. I should say it because we live. I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto, and these are very difficult times for the world, for the Jewish people.
Mhm.
And but two things I need to say. One is that the story of the Beta Israel is a miracle in our time. The fact that this community survived from the time of all the way back to Solomon, it's almost 3,000 years, is a true miracle. And the fact that they were actually rescued and brought to Israel on Operation Moses, on Operation Solomon, all these things is a true miracle in our day.
Right.
And I think that it's an important story because there's difficult days in Israel. Hopefully, Shalom, but Israel will have peace in Israel soon. But the fact that we know that miracles are possible if we work on them.
Of
The
course.
second thing is that it should be evident. I know the comment that the skin color isn't important, but skin color is very important, and I think that what Israel showed and what the Jewish people showed to the world. And it was with a struggle, and it wasn't easy. And the Rabbanut were not opposed, but ultimately it was Menachem Begin himself, this, and Leo Dulchin, that were the ones that actually put the paper on the desk that said that we were going to do something, that we were going to
Right.
rescue these Jews, and we showed during our time that Black lives really do matter, and in a tangible way.
Right.
And I think that that's important in the propaganda war that we're living in today, that not only is it important to say because it's good and it's a feel-good story, but I think it's important to say because it's a message. It's a message of what is possible, what we did in our time. And that is something that we all should be taking home and taking to our communities, and saying that
Right.
it's not only they don't, Black lives and all lives matter, but all lives can be actually helped in a very, very substantial and very, 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 very tangible way. That's important.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. What makes us special is about diversities, is you have Ethiopian at time, you have Soviet Union let my people go, and all now other community. But what makes us special is by existing our state of Israel. Um, all of us. Uh, I'm proud of my country. And what makes that special? Like country having, we existing, and we have place where to go. But uh, you need to understand. I'm a lefty who love peace, and I vote even for Yitzhak Rabin when I was a soldier to make peace between Palestinians. And my prime minister, our prime minister, he got assassinated. They give him peace. We give things. People they have to understand. Um, we have to understand. I don't say about in the social media, but we have to be an as a Jewish community. It's a lot of good people live in Israel, lefty, who want peace, and you have Democrat and a Republican like here who fight for peace. But the people who run in the country is that's not. So I don't complain. When I want to complain, I go to vote. The voting is the things why I want to change voices. So I wish things is getting better because 8 day I don't sleep because my brother he lives in Ashkelon with 4 kids. My mom in Ashdod. So I'm not in good shape, and everybody not in good shape. So miracles it will happen. Israel is a strong state, and there are smart people there. We need to let them to do the job, and also we have to understand. We need to explain ourselves to the world. People say pro-Palestine. I say Palestinian. They need to be free from Hamas. That's the problem. The world doesn't understand. They hosted
Right.
by Hamas. So I would love to see that. I know people saying pro-Palestine, and I think you have to go there, see the whole picture, what's going on, and
And we know, especially for the Ethiopian Jewish community, for the Beth Israel community, that Hamas has been holding hostage
exactly
Beth Israel for how
big
many years? 4 years.
4 years, and
4 years holding a hostage.
I
Somebody who
really
accidentally walked across.
the Jewish community outside Israel, they need to say Hamas, you have to free Palestine. That's the end of the story. And now Israel just starting rocket. Hamas, since he came in the power, they hostage Palestine. That's the end of it. But I'm worried about Palestine. I care about them.
Hmm.
I
Thank
care.
you, guys.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Avishai, not to interrupt. Thank you so much for your thoughtful questions, and thanks for answering, Avishai. I just wanted to know if we could get a couple more questions in. We had quite a few in the chat. One in particular, Bob Barnett has a question here that says, does Beta Israel have religious leadership like the Sephardim and Mizrahim that is recognized? I'm a cantorial student at JTS, and I would like to know if there are any artists or recordings that I can listen to Beta Israel music.
oh yeah, it's a lot of them. Rav Sharon, did he wrote book something about Rav Sharon? Please read the book. We recommend if you want to know about the religions, about Israel, all those books. You'll definitely find today is easy. Music, the chanting of the Kesim is recorded. You can find it also. It's different between Sephardic and Ashkenaz, the parade. So, I mean, they they tell us we're Sephardic, but we are part of an Africa. It's Farag is in Spain, but we my town in Israel in Yavne is the Ethiopian synagogue, so I don't go Sephardic synagogue or Ashkenazi. I go to the Ethiopian synagogue.
Especially the music for Sikh.
The music in Sikh, yeah. Also the Sikh. When you celebrate JCC, I know JCC hosts Sikh. Come to Sikh in Manhattan.
Thanks. There's one other question here. Do schools in Israel teach the history of the Ethiopian Jewish community?
Well, that's a good question. Part of this film we're doing is missing a lot of information. No, is it has to be told. Never been history is not part of educated. I think not just Ethiopian Jews. It should be include others. Part of diversity. I learned when I was in high school. Just everything is what happened in the West. But not what I know. but they start celebrating the 6th, so people start understanding the culture of the Israel Ethiopian Jews come from Ethiopia. But that's the only thing I know. And
Thank you.
sorry, I want to add. Now the Israeli states, they do every year's the anniversary. People who suffer and die in the road in Sudan. That we do it every year, and the Yom Yerushalayim, which is Jerusalem date. So that date, we go to remember people really died on the way to Jerusalem.
All right. Thank you so much. Maybe one last one before we get cut off here. But are there Ethiopian synagogues that I lost the question here, but that have that are Reform or Masorti affiliated that have more active and consistent roles for women?
Oh, that's a good question. That makes me to do research. In Israel, they talk in Israel. Is that related to Israel or just in general?
Yes, in Israel.
Reform. Not sure I know. I don't think so, but I know year ago they organized the Orthodox Rabbanut reform. Yeah, the Supreme Court in Israel, which is become part to have rabbi reforming to get married. It wasn't allowed. So I know Supreme Court did it last year. It was very big celebrating, but I don't think so. No.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, we're pretty much at the end of our session.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would love to say one short things. I would love to say, first of all, thank you. It is a happy day. Shavuot, happy night. It's beautiful. We should be proud and happy and celebrate it. And second of all, please learn about the heroes and learn. Thank you. And you will really inspire and to learn about other Jewish also. So reach out for 100 miles if you want to study about the Jewish diversity, which was presented by a lot of Jewish film festival. And looking forward, and thank you so much for having me.
Hold on, Avishai, before you go, is there a way, if somebody wants to contribute, somebody in this audience might be involved in film or an investor, how can they contact you to
it's easy to find me, Avishai Mekonen. You just give me in the Google search, boom, you can go to to the website Friend of Ethiopian Jews, which is they do fundraising for this film. Anyone you can donate or contribute or to support even and tell the story.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Sorry if we didn't get to your question, but we had a lot of information.
I know. It was a beautiful event. And Laila Tov, Hag Sameach. Thank you so much, all of you. Bye. Shalom, shalom. Bye, Neil. Thank you.